Hello and welcome back to Gold Coin. I'm Kathy Burgos and I am going to be talking about something really, really great. I always say that, but I think it's all great. Okay, so my topic of discussion today is social eating and eating regret. So for me, they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, and I had to figure it out what was going on with me. And so I wanted to talk about it. So, social eating, it really starts when you're young. You think about it. You can go back and, with one of your friends or loved ones and talk about it and see where you are in this. So, social eating starts when we're, of course, kids. When we start with our families, we're eating with our family at the dinner table. And then we go to family events, most likely, and, Christmas or Easter or whatever it is, birthday celebrations. And a lot of our family time and friend time, and then as we grow up, and then we go out with our friends to the movies or whatever, dating, and and it can go on and on and on and on and on. And then you pretty much do sometimes what you did as a child. You do that with your own new family that you start and your in-laws, or some people do not. Some people say they were raised a certain way. Maybe they were raised vegetarian, maybe they weren't, and they decide when they get older, I'm not going to eat like that, I'm not going to do things like that, and so they do it different. Or they might do their customs or their holidays a little bit different according to who they marry or who they're with or where they live. Everybody has different cultural experiences. They were raised a certain way, and we hold on to those things. They're part of who we are, part of who our family is, how we were raised, where we were raised at, what country we live in, what state. There's so many variables. I know for me, I was raised. We didn't have a lot of money, and so any food that came to the house was pretty like crucial. And I remember I knew that even as a young child. And I tell this story. I told one of my coworkers. I remember being like 5 years old, and I used to drink condensed milk, the little cans of milk, and I would open it, and I that was the only milk that we had, or I think we did have powdered milk too. I'm trying to remember. But I thought that was normal. Now, condensed milk, if you think about it, it's like loaded with sugar and it's really thick. And I was drinking that like as if it was regular milk with my cereal as a young girl. And I remember also in my household, once you got served your food, you had to eat everything on your plate or you couldn't be excused. And I mean, it was serious business. I remember times where I would fall asleep sitting at the table because I didn't want to eat something. I didn't like it. And so I would refuse to eat it. And so that was my punishment, to sit there until I ate my food. And I also remember that we were served plates that were bigger, really big portions. I remember my plate being full of food. And, being, you know, elementary age, you don't need to eat as much as an adult does, hopefully. But that's how we were served. We were served, and our portions were big, and our portions were mostly carbs and starches, I would say. And that's just how we grew up, And I remember that. And so as I got older, and I wasn't. I think I've mentioned before, I wasn't an overweight child. A lot of people who are in a weight loss journey, their stories are that they were overweight even as a young child. I was. I whatever you want to call normal for my height and size. I was a little stocky, I would say. I think I was heavy. Like if you tried to pick me up, I was, I wasn't like a little feather or anything. But I was a strong kid, and I was a tomboy, and I used to ride my Evil Knievel bike, and I was into that kind of stuff. So a little bit about me, and so that's your first experience with social eating. So as you as you go, with social eating, and then you continue to grow, and then your habits can change a little bit, your patterns, but you get used to something, and then you sometimes might even associate those times with really good memories and feel, really good feelings. And so those impact you mentally, and they stay there in your memory database, and you tend to repeat those things oftentimes. So, and we're talking about social eating still. So, you know, uh, I remember holidays, and our family, the Lopez family, going to my grandma's house for Christmas was like the big deal. Going to my Aunt Josephine's house for Easter was the big deal because she had this huge yard, and all the cousins would come, and we knew that we were gonna get an Easter basket with a big chocolate bunny. And I would be disappointed every year because I would find out that my bunny was hollow, and I love chocolate. I mean, and I think back, like I was drinking condensed milk, which is very sweet, very thick. So I developed a taste for sweetness really early, and I had a thing for chocolate, which I still like chocolate. So, and I'd be like, oh man, this bunny is hollow, whatever. Try to take one of my cousins if they weren't looking so that I could have theirs too. So I associated really good times with big family dinners. If you went to my grandma's house, I don't care if you went at 8 o'clock at night, if you went 8 o'clock in the morning, if you, came from wherever and you drove a long ways, she was get up. She would like have beans, have tortillas, have potatoes, have, whatever you wanted, she would feed you. And it was almost to the point where if you didn't eat, you would offend her, but you wanted to because her food was delicious. So you were like, it's no problem, I don't care that I just ate in the car, I want to eat again because it's grandma's food. So that's the way that I was raised, and I carried that with me as far as being reprimanded, being punished if I didn't finish my meals, eating everything on my plate. We didn't have leftovers in my house. We just didn't. I didn't go to a restaurant or a fast food place until I was probably, man, I don't even know, maybe 12, 13. We just didn't do that. We ate at home, and we ate, big portions of food, of, carbs and starches. And we were poor, we didn't go to restaurants. I remember the first time I went to a restaurant, I was like, whoa, we're at a restaurant, you be quiet, just sit there, so that's how, so you got to look back. You want to look back to your habits and patterns. And the reason why I bring this up is because if you're listening to this, most likely you're on a weight loss journey. You're trying to lose weight, or you've regained weight, or you just want to get off that cycle of, back and forth, back and forth. So I had to go back in my history and kind of figure out, like, why did I do the things that I did? How did I get to 350 plus pounds? Was it, why was I eating myself to death? Why did I have morbid obesity? What caused it? What was going on with me? So I went, I wanted to go back and just really, really investigate me and find out, and then I could help somebody else. You might have a whole different story, and maybe how your parents ate, or your patterns or habits in your family, and your first experiences of social eating didn't affect you. And it could be, everybody is different. Everybody has a different journey. I'm sharing mine with you in hopes that it would really help you to figure out your story, and even help you with your future social eating habits and your patterns, and mentally and emotionally. Sorry, I'm messing around with my watch here. And so you can figure it out, and so you can change it, because you probably want to change what you're doing, and you want to see a different result within yourself. So, and I didn't realize it back then, what I was doing or whatever. I remember as a teenager going into young adulthood, I liked my food very, very plain. It was weird. If I was with my friends and we would all go to Tam's, or, go get burgers or whatever, I would be like, I want a plain burger. And every day, ew, gross. You don't want nothing on there? And I'd be like, well, maybe ketchup. You know, and if I would get my food and it had everything on it, I would be like grossed out. I'd be scraping it off, like, ugh, this is gross. And I just went through this weird phase like that for a while. And that didn't, I mean, it was a couple years actually. And so your experiences of eating and food and good times, and a lot of times in our experiences with our family and friends, it can revolve around food. Birthdays, it's a celebration. Oh my gosh. Oh man, there's a death in the family. There's food. People are bringing food over. It's associated with comfort. It's let me take care of you. Let me make you this fantastic meal and show you how much I love you and care for you. Some people, that's their love language, and some people, their love language is to serve and take care of. And so they're like, oh, they love my, banana cream pie. So I'm gonna make that. Or every year, I used to know. Oh well, I know somebody who used to make these pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. Oh, I mean, I could still like want one right now. And it's like every year around like the fall time, I'd be like, oh, she's gonna make them. So you associate, good times and friends and family sometimes with food. Sometimes, now, if you're like, no, not me, not me, that's fine too. But I know for me, I did. So going forward, my social habits, whoever, when as I got older and I got married, and then we used to do a lot of outreach, and we used to work with a lot of people, and sometimes we would be so busy during the day that we ended up eating these huge meals at night because it was the only time that we would rest. We did not eat breakfast unless it was just a donut really quick or something like that. Lunch maybe, but it was like after the day was spent and we were able to sit down and rest and not be so involved in our social activities with people, we would actually eat huge meals. Now, your metabolism, or when you're a certain age, you're in an age tier or whatever, it doesn't really affect you. But as you get a little bit older, it does. And I remember when I started gaining weight in my 20s, wasn't really thin or anything. I was just, I think, I was overweight a little bit, already. But I wasn't like, obese or morbid or anything like that. But I could have lost, I could lose about 20, 30 pounds. But I began to eat late at night, and I thought, I'm so busy during the day. If I'm just eating once a day, really, but I'm eating this huge meal before I would go to sleep. And, you can say, well, calories don't know what time it is. No, they don't. They don't. They don't know what time it is. I agree with that. But I know if you're eating huge meals at any time of the day and that's become your staple, it's going to affect your body size no matter what time you eat it. But if you but in my case, it just happened to be late at night. It wasn't a big breakfast. It was like this huge dinner. And by that time, I was so starving that, you're just not really, hey, we're going to go get pizza. We're going to get chili cheese fries. Hey, we're going to get this. Oh, let's do it. Or a bunch of people, hey, let's go to, Norm's or Denny's, and everybody's ordering all this stuff. And you're just, enjoying yourself, having fun, eating milkshakes, Oreo cookie milkshakes, whatever. And you don't really think about it. It's just your life. You're having fun. You're having a good time. Yeah, you're a little overweight or something, but so that kind of was my experience. And I didn't realize it until I was like, I was eating, and I wouldn't eat anything other than just like really, really like bread. I could go a whole day and just eat like bread. I wouldn't even really have protein or anything else. It was either sweets or bread or cheese, once in a while meat or whatever. But, and I noticed that became like my, oops, I just really almost knocked my little display over here. Uh, so I was just eating bread primarily, whether it was in the form of a muffin or a cookie or a donut or a tortilla or a sandwich, or garlic bread, whatever. I was eating a lot of bread, and I could pretty much live off of that. And I was hurting myself. I was really, really to the point where I was excessively eating, and I was not in control of it anymore. I would be full and I would still eat. If I had served myself like 4 pieces of pizza and I was full after the first 2, or I started to feel like, okay, because those pieces of pizza, those other 2 were on my plate, I would eat them. And you might say like, don't eat it, go put it in a, put it away for later, but I didn't. And I had these habits so ingrained in me that, whatever I served myself or somebody served me, I had to eat it. And I would almost feel like guilt if I didn't eat it. It was almost like the 5-year-old me was sitting at the table like, okay, you got to eat this. And you could say like, that is, whoa, that's way out. It is. It is way out. Why does anybody overeat? Why does anybody overeat to the point where they're sick, or where they feel like they're just nauseated, or where they feel like their stomach is just going to explode, or they have to unbutton their pants, or, you know, why does anybody do that? Over and over and over again, to the point where you begin to gain weight, where it's detrimental to your health, and you're unhappy about it, and you're like, I need to do something about this. So I looked back at, my habits and my patterns, because weight loss journey and success, your intellect, your emotions, your heart, everything needs to be working at the same level. Because if you're just taking care of one and you're neglecting the other, chances are you're going to hit a bump in the road, and you're going to be like, uh-oh, this needs to be fixed. And so when I realized that I was taking care of my physical body, so I thought, I'm like, hey, I'm exercising now, I'm losing weight, I'm doing really great, but I hadn't really taken care of, my emotions when it came to food. And this is how I found out. So I would, it was like I went through these weird stages when I first started losing weight. I would be the person at the family function or the party or at work when everybody else is eating and I wasn't. I was like the odd man out all the time. Like, oh, you don't want anything? Like, no, I'm good. And everybody's like, yeah, it's lunchtime. You're not gonna eat. People are like, whoa, what's wrong with you? So I went through that where I would be like the only one not eating, and then I went through another stage where I was only eating like certain foods, and like, I tried to restrict certain things for myself, thinking that was gonna help. And I've talked about in other podcasts where I don't restrict any foods, because for me it's almost like a punishment. So I do eat carbs, I do eat fat, I do eat protein, I do eat vegetables, I do, I think the only thing that I have really stopped is milk. I don't drink milk anymore. could be to do with something with that, condensed milk when I was a kid. But no, I don't drink milk anymore. But that's just a choice that I've made. So it has nothing to do with anything. I just decided I didn't want to drink it anymore. So, going back to, the subject at hand. So I would go sometimes to family parties and stuff, and especially like the holidays, and they're making tamales and all this and that, and I'm like, man. So I would eat, I started like, I would have one or two or something like that, and then the next day if I seen the scale jump up, or if I seen that I didn't really feel that good, right away I would be like, oh man, I would have eating regret. We call it eating regret in my house, because like, what's wrong? Are you having eating regret? Because I would let it affect me really horribly. And I'm like, man, I knew I shouldn't have ate that tamale, And it's like, I would blame whatever I was going through on the food that I had ate. And I would start regretting it. And instead of remembering, hey, I was with family, I was having a good time, I would immediately, it's like I had myself on such a short leash, should I say, because I had been morbidly obese for so long, and I was so unhappy. I was so afraid that I was going to gain the weight back. And I did. I've talked about it before. I did regain some weight back. And I was so afraid that I was going to blow up again. In my mind, that's what I would call it. Like, oh man, I can't go back to that. I can't live like that anymore. And so I would have myself on this really, really tight leash of what I would eat and when I would eat, so that I could do it for like maybe a couple of weeks, and then one day I would just like lose it. Go to somebody's house and they having pizza, and some of my coworkers would laugh because sometimes we would have like 3 lunches in one day. I would be really, really strict with myself, and then I'd bring my prepped lunch to work, and then somebody would be like, man, you guys want to get pizza? And then I would have that, too. Not like a lot, but I would eat that too. And then somebody would say, "Hey, I'm going to so and so. Do you want something?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, bring me something." And I would get like a soup or something. And it's like, because living, restricting yourself and on this little like short leash, it doesn't work long term. And it messes with you mentally, it messes with you emotionally, and I would have eating regret, and then I would be down in the dumps, and then I would have to pull myself out of it, and it's just like this, it's like a vicious circle, and I didn't want to live like that anymore. I didn't. I said, you know what, what's causing me to do this? What's causing me to, when I go out socially, I'm like the weird one, or I'm like not eating, or I'm overeating, or, um, you know, when can I just be quote unquote normal? And there was times too where I would be just, I wouldn't want to be the one on a diet. I wouldn't want to be the person who's like, okay, I gotta watch what I'm eating. I'm counting calories. I just was like, why did I do this to myself? Number one, and now here I am having to live, it seemed almost like subpar. It's live like I can't be like everybody else. And then I came to terms, you know what, Kat? You're not like everybody else. You did eat yourself into morbid obesity. So now you need to face up to it. You need to get a grip, take responsibility, and make the adjustments. And if it's causing you anguish, if it's causing you to be depressed, if it's causing you to be messed up inside, then you need to work on it. You need to look at it, and you need to work it out. And so that's when I began to look back and say, okay, I'm not going to go back there, but I need to find out, where did I develop these habits and patterns, because I want to stop them. And I don't want to have to be tripping about food all the time. And once you begin to eat a certain way, and I've talked about it, I wanted to start the series of Food Palate, where I've done already one podcast about it. Your body and your taste buds and your mind, everything in you wants to eat those nourishing foods. Once you start to do it over and over and over again, not that you'll never enjoy, sweet, fattening, whatever, but you can make allowances for those foods and still carry on and still meet your weight loss goals. But you do have to plan it. If it doesn't come naturally to you, or it was never taught to you how to eat nutritiously, how to do your macros, how to set up how much fat and protein and fiber and everything that you need to eat, then you have to educate yourself. And you have to be willing to go through the changes, or stay in the vicious circle. I, for one, said, you know what? If this is a lifetime thing for me, if I'm going to continue, and I have not reached the goal that I want yet, then I need to make this a lifestyle. I need to educate myself. And you know what? I need to be okay with myself on the days that I decide to have something that maybe is not exactly the most nutritious thing, but I need to be able to make room for it. I need to be able to adjust my other meals if I have to, because I have a goal and I'm the priority. Because without me taking care of me, I can't really function appropriately and in the most excellent way in everything else that I do. So for people who say they don't have time, and people who say, oh man, I'm too busy, or I don't have money, or I don't know how, that was me. I never had time. I didn't know how. I didn't have the money to go to the most expensive grocery stores. I didn't have a trainer. I didn't have this. It's just excuses. And it's like, no, be stronger than your strongest excuse. I'm not a natural cook person. I say cook person. I know it sounds, pretty, I don't know, it just sounds whatever, but I'm not. I don't naturally just, there's people who can go in the cupboard in the refrigerator, make food, and it's delicious. And you're like, wow, what is that? You're like, oh, well, I just grabbed a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a pinch of this. And it's like, it's a gourmet meal. That is not me, okay? I have to try really, really hard to make something taste good, And then it's just like, dang, how come mine didn't come out like that? I did exactly what you did, right? But so I had to and I don't like to cook. I don't like to sit over, some people are like, oh yeah, I like to cook, I like to bake, it's therapy. No, I like to eat. I didn't like to cook. I didn't like to bake. So all the excuses that you don't have time, you don't have money, you don't have this, da, 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 then you're saying that you don't have time to invest in yourself. It's just not that important to you. Just say it. You know what? You're right. It's just not that important to me right now. Well, let me tell you, when you decide to make it important, you will. It's just simple. It's simple. I didn't, and I was not ready to put the time and investment into educating myself and getting it together up here, getting my heart together to be able to nurture my body. And a lot of people say this in the weight loss community, and I'm going to say it too. You can't outrun your fork. And I learned that too, because I can push myself in the gym. I can push myself to working out where I'm like just, you know, covered in perspiration, and I'm like going to fall over. I can't breathe, but it doesn't matter. I found out that you can't outrun the fork. So if you're overeating and you're like, well, I'm going to do 2 workouts today. I mean, hey, you want to be in a calorie deficit. You want to use more energy than you're, putting calories in, and so you can lose weight. But why put yourself through that? So you can do it. And that's why I am now. I'm a person that I would never talk about this kind of stuff because it's kind of like, oh, it's personal for me. And it's like embarrassing a little bit. Like, wow, you seriously loved food to the point where you were like going to kill yourself with it, But I figured if I can help somebody with my story, I'm going to. It's a mandate. I have to. It pulls me. You know what I'm saying? And so I have a website, I have a coaching service, and it deals with your mind, your heart, your mind, and your body. Because if you can have the body part down, you can do those exercises and all that. But how many times have I felt, and how many times have you felt? You have the exercises right there in front of you. You have the weights. You have the gym membership. You have a trainer. You have everything. Or you just like to walk, but you don't feel like it. You know what? I just don't feel like it today. Okay, we all need rest days. We all need, like they say, mental health days, or days where we just chill. Netflix days, right? But you got to get a rein on it because you got goals. So it can't be every day. It can't be all the time. You have to just make up your mind. And sometimes you need somebody to help you, to help motivate you, help discipline you. Yeah, somebody else's motivation and discipline, my motivation, my discipline, it's almost like it's on lend to you when I'm a coach to you. I'm on lend to you until you get it for yourself. And that's the whole point, is to get it for yourself. I call mine grit because I got some grit, and sometimes I look at my before and after pictures, and they're on my website if you want to see them. And I'm like, wow, who was that? Who? And then sometimes I want to cry when I see my before and after pictures because I remember so vividly, oh man, what I was going through that day, being that size. And then there's other times where I'm like, girl, I don't know who that is, You go through different things when you lose a lot of weight, and it's been a couple years now, and I consider myself a success story, and I'm still on my journey. I'm still being a success story. I'm still, marching on. I'm doing it. But I know that I need to help somebody else, and I want to be there for you. I will be on lend to you. I will be your coach. I will be that person that talks you off the ledge and makes you think about why. You've got to be stronger than your strongest excuse. And so the way you grew up and the way your social eating habits, social eating can lead to, the reason why you do things and how you do it it can cause you to have food regret, or you can do eating regret. That's what I would call it. I have eating regret. Oh, you regret eating that yesterday? You regret doing that yesterday? You regret that? You regret that you drank? You regret that you had this or that? You had 2 pieces of cake instead of 1. So how do you get out of it? You can. So how do you stop having eating regret, or, have that regret the next day? You can. You just have to decide. You have to decide. You have to decide that, you know what, if I'm gonna, like, it's like me. Um, I like pancakes or whatever, so I found a different alternative to pancakes that I eat. And so, I'll have breakfast with my family, and they'll eat their kind of pancakes, and I'll eat my pancakes, and it's okay. It's fine. I'm enjoying what I'm enjoying. I think it tastes good. I know how to make it, and I've had to learn how to have alternatives. Or sometimes if I want to have ice cream, I'm just going to have ice cream. I may not necessarily go and get Halo Top, or, sometimes I do, if I want less calories or whatever. But you have to gauge, you know what? I'm going to make room in my meal plan this day or this week to have what I want to have. I'm going to enjoy it while I'm going to enjoy it, and then I'm going to move on. And I'm not going to regret it. I'm going to have fun with my family. I'm not going to be the one right there just staring at the tamales and, oh, I can't have it, or I want that eggnog and I can't. No. And the sooner you start to do that in your journey, or you're restarting a journey on weight loss, the better you're going to be, because you're going to feel better about yourself. You're not going to be beating yourself up. You're not going to be on this really tight, strict, orders, And I know people probably even still think that about me, because, sometimes I take food with me, and, I eat it, and they're probably like, wow, do you have to do that? That's weird. But it doesn't bother me anymore like it used to, because I know that I got a goal. I know where I want to go, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I've had to learn so many lessons, and that's why I'm available to you. And, check out my website, check out the plans. I'm available, and this is the best time. Right now we're in COVID-19, and, I did have to go to work today. I was called into work, and I was laid off because of the pandemic that's happening. If you're listening to this, in another year other than, May 1st, 2020, then you might be like, what is she talking about? Or maybe you'll know. But a lot of people have been home, and I know it was anxiousness for a lot of people who are, even myself. The first week I was like, oh my god, I'm not gonna have activity, the gym is closed, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna gain weight. And you know what, I've been fine. I've actually lost weight, and I've toned up a lot more. I've been doing home exercises, which I dreaded, but they're actually wow, they're amazing. And I've seen some amazing results. I myself even have a coach, and so I can say it's worth it to invest in yourself. It's not a lot. If you need help, let me know. But I'm going to sign off for tonight or today, wherever you are. And I just want to say you are an amazing individual, and don't ever forget it. You don't have to live in regret. You don't have to have regret eating, or eating regret in the morning because you had a piece of pizza tonight with your family. You can work it out, and you can find alternatives, and that's where I help with meal plans, because I have to do alternatives. There's things that, I like refried beans, but that doesn't necessarily fit in macros for me to lose weight. So what did I have to do? Those are the type of things that I would help you with. Maybe in your culture, there's certain food items that you eat, and you can adjust certain things. I've made banana bread, and I've made so many other things without using, sugar and different things, and it tastes good. And I've had people try it, and they're like, they would have never known if I wouldn't have told them. So there's a way to still enjoy the foods that you've always grown up loving, and still be healthy and take care of yourself, and be okay up here, be okay here, and be okay in your body. Thank you for listening. I'll leave you the links and everything, and I will see you next time for another very informative and very helpful segment for you on your weight loss journey.